All right, welcome back everyone to Sneaker Impact News. I'm your host, Bryan the Botanist, and today my special guest is Ray Guzman. Ray, how's it going?
Ooh, it's going good. It's Friday. Can't complain. It's not raining. Things are going well, so I can't complain at all. We live in Miami.
It's a beautiful day in Miami. Awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We're really excited to get to know you today. Guys, we got introduced to Ray through our founder, Mo. Ray is a digital creator, social media influencer, brand ambassador, and OG sneakerhead based in Miami. He's a legend, PR Sneaks 23. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get into it, man. Tell us about your background. Who is Ray Guzman? Where were you born and raised? How has that influenced your identity?
Yeah, for sure. Ray Guzman. So I was raised in Miami, but I was born in Puerto Rico. Born in Puerto Rico, lived in Chicago for some time. But raised in Miami. Within Miami, there's a high volume of Hispanics here, but mostly Cuban, from a Cuban descent, especially as growing up. But I used to always travel back to Puerto Rico, and I was influenced a lot with the fashion that Puerto Rico has, a lot of the colors and stuff like that. And I was big into the arts growing up. Arts, and what I mean by the arts is just anything that has to do with anything artistic, right? I love the background this here. That's why you see how I was attracted to it when I first got in here. I think that's what started the story with my sneakers. So I first started I guess in the third grade or the second grade or something like that. I would notice individual sneakers, and there were just different colors, right? Even though the base color was maybe white, because it's not like it is now. You have yellows and you have reds all over the place. But I was always intrigued by individuals and the individuality. Individuals who wear the sneakers in different colors. And for me, I saw it like art. And that's the same way I am now, in my current age now. Same way I look at things, not only with fashion, but with sneakers. That influenced me a lot as growing up and what I do now and how I got introduced to the sneaker culture.
Being a sneakerhead, your shoes represent your identity so much.
Absolutely.
And that was something that you found a passion in as a youngster.
Absolutely.
I read online that your first pair of sneakers you got as a gift from your mom, was it? The first year Shaquille O'Neal was in the NBA? What's that story?
Yeah, so the story goes like this. That was not necessarily my first pair of sneakers, obviously. I wanted the high sought-after sneakers, right? Jordans and all these things as a kid, right? My mom really couldn't afford to buy me these type of sneakers, right? Okay. And as I think around 1991, 92, as Shaquille O'Neal was coming on the draft, I fell in love with the sneakers that he was introducing with the Reebok. And I begged my mom, I want these sneakers. I want these sneakers. My mom worked really hard to get those sneakers.
Groceries are more important.
Yeah, my mom worked hard, and we didn't have a lot of money to go around. And not only that, if she got me one, she had to get my brother as well. My brother, she got both of us.
It's a high-value item, too.
It's a high-value item, right? Especially, it's a brand, especially at the time. Well, it could have been $125, $150. Shoes are probably $200 now, but it was a pretty expensive sneaker back then. And that was my first, like I said, high sought-after sneaker at the time. And I think that kind of that's what springboarded me into saying, hey, I got these shoes. And going forward, I always wanted nice pairs of sneakers. Now, that was the first and only time my mother bought me a pair of high sought-after sneakers. Thereafter, I had to go work at the grocery store and obtain enough money to help my mom, but to scrap the leftover money in order to go to Foot Locker or Champs or whatever the case may be and go buy me the sneakers that I wanted. So very hard, very difficult. I had to cut a lot of lawns and I had to go work a lot at the store, but I ended up saving enough money to continue to feed my obsession with sneakers growing up, and that's how I did it.
Wow. So that was your passion as a youth, was fashion and also the sneaker culture. Was it tied into fashion, being fashionable, like looking your best, or was it that and the fact that you were part of a community that is very passionate about these, shoes?
About shoes and sneakers?
Yeah.
No, growing up.
Were you part of the community at that point?
No, growing up, that wasn't you are you're not really part of a community that way, but you're part of a community within your own area.
So the kids on your block.
Exactly. There you go. Like the kids in your school that like sneakers. But we'll get into the piece of the community and all that stuff in a little while. I think that's more got introduced later on with before social media.
This was original, how you fell in love with shoes.
And it wasn't even fashion, wasn't even a thing. It was just sneakers and some shorts and some ripped up jeans. It didn't really matter. As a kid, the sneakers or how you express yourself was the art, right?
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of times now you hear hype and you just want a pair of sneakers because everyone else has the same pair of sneakers.
Sure.
I think back then it wasn't necessarily that. Yeah, marketing had a lot to do with it, right? You saw the Shaquille O'Neal commercials, and that's how I liked it, right? So marketing always influences, right? Which now marketing is influencing through social media, right? But before it was through commercials or whatever the case may be. But in reality, it was just really the sneakers. It was the sneakers were it. The sneakers were everything. And back then, were mostly basketball sneakers. That's all you cared about.
Were you using them for basketball as well? Or were they more for
it's
like
funny you say
style?
that. I would say that most individuals, especially back in the 80s, late 80s and 90s, used them more for basketball, right? And a little bit for fashion. So they destroyed their sneakers. Early on, I kept my good sneakers, the ones, and I try to keep them like in good condition, right?
Okay.
And then I had my ones that I played basketball, football with, went outside with, messed them up. And I knew the ones that, again, that I worked hard for or my mom bought to keep those.
Those were going on display.
Yeah, exactly. But let me tell you a funny story that the Shaquille O'Neal shoes, one day, I only had them for 2 months. I had friends they came over. A bunch of kids came over from different neighborhoods, and we went to go practice football because they also played in football teams, right, in high school. And so we went to go play. We went to the lot to do that. And I suffered a devastating ankle and fibula and tibia injury.
Oh, wow.
Even a compound fracture.
Oh, wow.
And they had to rip my sneaker off in order to remove because it was a compound fracture.
Cut it off.
They cut it off.
The paramedics.
Right.
Oh, my God.
So that shoe always meant a lot because I know how hard my mom worked, and I didn't get a chance to change my sneakers. I left them on.
Oh, those are the original ones?
Yeah, those are the original ones.
Okay.
I left them on, so I left them on, and I went out to play. And originally I wouldn't have done that. Like I would have thought about it, especially going out like that on basketball sneakers where it doesn't have a lot of traction. Part of the reason also I probably sustained that injury. Anyway, that happened, and I always felt bad about that. I would say, from there I said, I'm never going to let my mom buy me a pair of sneakers. I'm going to pay for it myself. That's how I got
love
to
that part of the
point.
story, yeah, that you fell in love and you realized that this isn't something that should be expected of a parent.
No, yeah.
It's more if someone falls in love with any passion a lot, you got to take upon that responsibility. You can't just ask for more things from your parents.
But I think part of the injury helped me realize that. Yeah. And also helped me realize that I had a brand new sneaker, and now it's gone.
Oh, so you lost it pretty quickly.
Yes, it was cut. It was cut completely.
So like, I'm going to work hard. I like that.
Yeah.
So you grew up in Miami.
Yeah, I grew up in Miami.
Tell us a little bit about that. I wanted to learn before we get into your current projects, like your youth, like your family. How many? You had a brother?
Yeah, I have two brothers. I have two younger brothers.
Two younger brothers, so
yes.
3 boys?
3 boys.
Okay, I came from a family of 4 boys.
Oh.
And I'm from Wisconsin. Now, you grew up in what part of Miami?
North Miami.
North Miami.
Yeah,
okay.
I grew up in North Miami. I lived in Miami Beach for a while, but I grew up in North Miami, and that's where my middle schools and high school years came from. So it was me. It was basically us 3 and my mom. That's it. Yeah, my mom had to work hard to keep the boys fed, and we're big boys.
And you're the oldest.
And I'm the oldest.
Awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. Tell us about Miami back in growing up. How is it different than today? Because there's probably so many changes and differences. But
yeah, things change everywhere. Things have changed every 10 or 15 years. Generational things change. But Miami was different in a lot of aspects. And what I mean by that is I think that right now we're a melting pot, and we were a melting pot before, but I think more things were starting to develop in Miami. The music scene was a lot of like pop and hip hop and a lot of like house music, they will call it. And that also influenced sneakers and vice versa. A lot of things change when it comes to little cities. Like, for example, Miami now is divided by so many different little cities, right? We had that before too, but it was just a pocket. You got
it wasn't as developed.
It wasn't as developed. Like Wynwood, like the way it is now. Back when I was a kid, it was not a nice area. And I remember I used to go play basketball at Wynwood.
Rents were affordable. Artists live there.
Oh yeah.
Now it's every single square inch of Wynwood is worth millions of dollars.
Wynwood was not a place you even wanted to go live.
It was an entertainment epicenter of the city.
And that started happening in the past 12 to 12 years or so. I would say I would even want to go back 15. I think 15 years ago was still like developing, like really. So maybe like 12 years ago it started just jumping where it's at now.
So this was in the 90s when you were growing up?
Yeah, I grew up in the 90s. Okay. Even the 80s. I grew up in the 80s here. I was here, but I lived on the beach, and it was very close by here. Because North Bay
traffic wasn't as bad, probably.
Traffic was not as bad. It was simpler times. I used to take the bus to go places. So my mom would give me $1 if you can, please, $2. We used to just take the bus and go to a movie theater. We used to go to movie theaters. We used to have 99-cent movie theaters. Wow. And you used to go to the movie theaters and pay $1 to get in. Awesome. Not the new releases now. These are for releases that have already been out for 4 or 5 weeks. Okay. After that, they'll transfer over to these movie theaters, and they will call them 99-cent movie theaters. And you'll go to the theater and pay $1 to go watch a movie. Okay. So back in those days, you don't see those kind of things. Things have changed a little bit. So.
Interesting. Yeah, I've lived here for about 16 years, since 2008, and
Okay.
I've seen it change a lot too. I lived in the beach for about 14 or 15 years, and now I live on the Upper East Side here by Little River. And Miami is a very incredible city, so I definitely want to come back to that topic later. If you have any other, we're going to talk about some of your partners that you've worked with in Miami and some of the big events you've done. But first, I want to talk about your identity. How has being Puerto Rican and growing up in Miami influenced your identity as an artist and as a digital creator and influencer?
I think that being in the Hispanic community, right? Like I alluded to that earlier. From a Puerto Rico standpoint, or being Puerto Rican, you get a lot of different like flavors and tastes from the island, right? Whenever if you're still connected to the island, which I feel like I am still connected to the island, regardless of that, it influences here in Miami, and you also see different. It's a melting pot. Not only do you have from Puerto Rico, you got Cuba, you got Colombia, you got Venezuela, you got all different. And not only that, you got individuals that are coming from Wisconsin, from New York, so you get all these different type of influences. I think that together, I unite that together. I collaborate with that. But going back to your question, being Puerto Rican, my family and my culture in Puerto Rico, whatever's going on over there, whatever the styles are, I watch that very closely. And I try to put that all to my own, right? At the end of the day, as I'm getting older, it's a little bit different, right? And the stuff that I could probably wear and get away with, right? But still, from a fashion standpoint, I still look at different things and I bring it into my own style, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And outside,
the colors, the beauty of I've been to Puerto Rico.
Yeah. See the colors, the beauty of the islands. Yeah. And I'm, again, like I told you, I'm attracted into a lot of the food. I'm attracted to a lot of the colors and a lot of the artistic form. And you can see Miami's a very vibrant city, right?
Yes.
The magic, right? The magic city, right? And you go to South Beach and you have Art Deco styles and you have different kind of colors. And I think that comes from different influences, and it's just not Puerto Rico. It's all over. I think that from being a melting pot, you bring that in, and then it cultivates the things that you want to do, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's how I end up being me. It sets me into who I am. Remember, like I told you early on, I'm very attracted by, even though I wear very simplistic fashion when it comes to clothes, usually it's one color kind of thing. Or
no, but I love this. I love the top is really cool.
Yeah, it's cool, different, right?
It's got style.
But it's different, right?
With the Marlins
you
hat,
see what
it's all
it has same colors and match, but it's simplistic.
Yep, the oranges.
It's simplistic. So I try to keep everything simplistic as possible. My sneakers, they changed everything, because at that point is when I may wear something wild down the bottom. I may wear orange and purple, whatever the case would be. It doesn't mean I may not wear purple everywhere. Yeah, that's not going to happen. But the shoes, that's where I'll express myself. Okay. So I think a lot of sneaker enthusiasts, that's what they do. They let the sneakers talk. Okay. Although they have fashion and they're into the fashion community as well. What talks the loudest and what speaks volumes more are the sneakers.
So like you can show up in some jeans, some nice jeans and a regular, just like you said, nothing too flashy, just something that kind of, and that's interesting how the style is, and it's important, I think, how we present ourselves, because when we dress nicely, we feel nice in general, right? I think people say that it affects your mood, who you are, when you take care of yourself. And you also care about your appearance.
I agree with that.
And it's your style, and it's just really, it's interesting and cool. I'm more of a runner, as I told you before, but today we're learning about the sneakerhead world. So that's really cool to hear about the Puerto Rican influence, because that just is, like you said, a melting pot of different cultures and combining in Miami, and you've still got the connections, and your ear is close to the ground still. And
you have to. Even at my age, as growing up in
the art and the scene.
Going through things, even sometimes I get disconnected out because I got so many things going on with my personal life, work, and all that stuff. I try to keep my ears close to the streets and to the community and what's going on, because at the end of the day, it's still something that it's a love, right? It's something that I just don't like sneakers just because it's a fad or it's a thing. And for me, it's a passion. So I get into a lot of these conversations. I go to different events. So I'll go to different group meetings or whatever the case would be that I get invited to as the OG or whatnot. And I like to have discussions as to where are we now, and where are we heading? And at the end of the day, you just got to be open to all that, because you're only here today. Tomorrow's different. Tomorrow things are going to change. Yep. And the only thing that's constant is change. And we have to learn to accept that and continue to grow with that.
That's a really good point and good message, to just take advantage of the present, the moment.
Absolutely.
That was a really good segue, too, because my next section, I would like to talk about events and partners that you've worked with over the years. I read online Grails, which I've actually gone to for a Sneaker Impact event in the past year or two. We worked with Izzy Lugo, and I believe he's based in Milwaukee. And so I went there one time, and I realized that people there really care about their shoes, and sneaker aficionados hang out at Grails in Wynwood. I also saw that the Miami Sneaker Convention has been a big part of your background, and Art Basel, which is really cool. Tell us about some of the partners and events you've worked with over the years.
Yeah, I think that as the years have gone, we've had a lot of sneaker events over here. And what I mean by, I think it started out being more like an events that were catered to sneaker enthusiasts to come out, to hang out, to meet, right? And prior to even social media taking off, that's where you got to meet the sneaker community, right? Mm-hmm. You were able to meet every one of these events. And within there, then they started to think of, okay, now you buy, sell, and trade shoes, right? Hey, look, I have shoes,
rare
sneakers, right? I'll trade you 2 for 1, and like baseball cards and stuff like that back growing up. Sneakers are treated that way throughout the time. Now, I think this is going back to 2006, 7,
They're
8,
cataloged
right?
and studied. There's a value. And then they started, the value started growing from there. Before now, the community sets the value, but it's sold on platforms out there. So then they'll say, hey, if it's sought after and a bunch of individuals took these sneakers, they call them usually resellers, they'll grab the sneakers, they'll set the value because they're still selling it online at whatever price, and now the value is limited also
at
in
the price
quantity,
that they're
right?
set.
A lot of these are limited quantity.
But back then it wasn't like that. Back then you have gatherings in these events that you'll start doing, and they'll start the process of case. So now a big event that's huge, it's probably the biggest sneaker event came around called SneakerCon. And I was a part of the SneakerCon team, and I will travel with them for about 3 years. And it was awesome. It was an awesome traveling experience. They got a lot of individuals. They used to do a lot of, in their sneaker events, they will host, and they'll host them in different cities. They will have areas where you'll have talking areas, right? Forums. Not only do they have these influencers out there or brand ambassadors out there, they'll have just individuals in the sneaker communities come in and just have conversations and talk about different topics. And everyone wanted just to listen because that was the area where you got to listen to everyone else, ask questions, get to meet individuals. A little bit, I think right during COVID, that kind of stopped a little bit. And then I started taking off with the Miami Sneaker Convention.
When did Miami Sneaker Convention start?
I think Miami Sneaker Convention and that the team, they started in Tampa, if I'm not mistaken, Orlando and Tampa.
I've seen them pop up in
so they started working
in Orlando, yes.
In Orlando. Started in Orlando and Tampa. So I don't know what year necessarily they started, but when they started coming down to Miami, I was introduced to the individual that worked that, right? And I know there's a lot of individuals, but there was a main guy. And he was like, hey, look, I want you to be a part of it. I want you to be a part of the team when I come to Miami. And great guy, great event. I think they were coming down to Miami so frequently that it built a great following, right? But I think more now compared to what was before, it's more just an area where individuals will sell their sneakers. And then they use it
for resale.
Exactly. So not only resale, individuals that, they'll resell sneakers. Or
meeting also people in the...
I think that's secondary now. That's
but the marketplace is actually
the marketplace is the biggest feature.
So do you have your own area?
I don't. When I go, I'll go there more just to go out there and speak to everyone that's out there, to meet, to go out there and just talk to individuals that I haven't seen in a while. It's really just more of a place to hang out, have conversations with the sneaker community, and individuals that travel, individuals that come down from different areas to travel to that event because they want to meet others. That's what SneakerCon used to be. We used to have in SneakerCon when it was back in 2015, 16, 17, 18, we had individuals come from all over just to come to the SneakerCon in Miami, and then we'll use that platform to really have meet. Go out bowling, go out to eat, have conversations, and get to know individuals. And you build relationships with these individuals. So now, again, the community really grows. Compared to what it was when I was in the 90s, you don't have that opportunity, right? Because, again, you don't have those platforms. Now you have platforms that also social media you have the attraction there, you have the connection, you can communicate. And I think with that being said, you get to meet individuals in the community from not only here, Florida, not only the U.S., outside of the U.S., the U.K. and all.
Wow. So it's really interesting. Yeah, the conventions are basically like they're international, you're saying, and you get to meet a lot of people.
You get to meet a lot of people.
That's really cool. So the conventions are something you've been a big part of. How did you develop, I want to also hear about some of the events like Art Basel, but how did you develop your reputation as a sneakerhead, OG sneakerhead, influencer, ambassador? Did it all happen slowly over the years through consistency, I'm guessing, or was there a big moment that really sprung you into?
Yeah, I don't think I didn't start off to want to do any of that. That wasn't I think it wasn't the intention, and I don't think it was the intention for many individuals either. I think, so the way I started, I'll tell you my story was, Instagram popped off, and if I'm not mistaken, around 2010 or 11. And I was always slow into social media. I didn't have MySpace. I have Facebook later in the years. You know, I was always hesitant, as I guess probably, you know, my age group and my generation. And so, but when Instagram took off, when I started looking at it, it was just pictures, right? It was just a carousel of pictures. So your pictures,
It was
pictures.
all about just the photo.
And I was looking at it, and I was at actually an event, a real small event, and I got to talking to someone there, and they were like, "Hey, I saw them taking pictures of the shoes," and they're like, "Hey," it goes, I just use it to take pictures." So I started thinking I could use Instagram. This is the only place I could use it as a electronic diary of my personal sneaker collection. So when I started it out, it was just that. It was just, and it wasn't taking great quality pictures or anything like that. It was just saying, hey, today I have on these sneakers. And I'm going to show my following that I have these sneakers. So it's just like more like a diary of saying, hey, this is my sneaker collection. Yeah. And everyone has their, Instagram was supposed to be for whatever. I'm eating something or I'm whatever. I just did it for sneakers. So it morphed into, my page still is, and when it came about, if you see when I started, it was like 2011. Okay. And it started out with sneakers, and it still is that way. Obviously, there's a little bit more added to it. I put fashion into it now, and obviously the quality of my pictures have enhanced, and all that. Those things have changed, but that's how it started. In saying that, when that I started creating a following. At that time, creating followers was a lot easier. The algorithm from Instagram was completely different, and people started following me just because of the sneakers. And I would go to events.
Were you hashtagging or?
I was hashtagging. Okay. Hashtag was a thing back then, right? And those hashtags created followers, right? Yeah. But I think the local events helped me create local following, right? Yeah. And then I got more of a local following. And I think my first big break into brand ambassading was I wore sneakers and I started taking nicer pictures of it. I got a better camera. And I took a nice picture of a pair of shoes. And Champ Sports reached out to me and said, hey, man, those pictures are great. Do you mind if we use it? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm cool with it. So, yeah, I'm like, whatever. And that individual reached out to me, reached out to me again, like a week, maybe like a month later or 2 weeks later. I don't recall now. It's like 2015 or 14 at this time. And I said, yeah, cool. You can use it. Yeah, I was happy. I was like, wow, they would use it in their platform. Imagine I have a big following. They would tag me. And at that time, whoa, they're tagging this person? So now I'm getting another big following, right? And that started off with, hey, man, we'd like to start sending you some stuff.
Just organic.
Yeah, we'd like to start, and then every so often they'll send me shoes, and I got to a point, they were sending me sneakers, and then they were sending me, they will call it I forgot the name for it now, but they will basically have packages for their selective brand ambassadors. Sure. And then sometimes they'll have packages that were different. Some VIP special packaging. Stuff, yeah. And they'll send me special packaging, different shoes, different sneakers. Wow. And that started the movement of I just did organically. They just started sending me stuff. I started posting it. And then they started the thing, hey, we're doing something with Aces. And they want to contact you. Do you want to be a part of that kind of stuff? And they'll have events or what they call activations that they'll call them. And they'll say, hey, look, we're doing something with New Balance. And then New Balance, so I've worked with Aces, with New Balance, with Nike. I don't have any of that on my profile, but there's so many back then. And it started off with, hey, look, I saw you at Champs. Right, I saw you with the Champ stuff, right? And obviously they're related with Foot Locker, so with that I also did Foot Locker stuff, right? It really just started off with that avenue and sneakers, and then it morphed into not only other brands, but also fashion and also byproducts of something else, bags and all kinds of stuff, gym wear. It's just
once you're recognized as an influencer in one arena, fashion is more than just shoes.
Exactly right. Yeah. So you get them everywhere. So it's the accessories. It's what comes with that. You know what I'm saying? The bags, the hat. You know what I'm saying? So now I wear a lot of caps, but I also get contacted a lot from companies that do the caps. And it's, hey, look, we want to send you some caps. You take some pictures. Or sometimes they're contracts. Sometimes it's, hey, look, for 6 months, can you do XXX? And we'll pay you X. So we'll get those deals done. And that's how it was with the New Balance, with the Aces, with Timberland.
Yeah, did it evolve to where you actually are getting rewarded then?
Oh, absolutely.
Good. So
absolutely. It started out organically that way, but eventually it becomes somewhat of a business. So then it becomes side of a business. So you have to be very business oriented, where at first it was more like, yeah, it's fine. And then after a while you understand that hey, look, my following
Exposure,
and what I'm
you're
doing,
getting
my
it
exposure
initially.
is worth something. And you start learning that as you go. At first, you don't know that. Then you start seeing your value, right? And you start saying, okay, you start communicating with the others. Hey, what do you charge for so-and-so? What do you charge for so-and-so? And then that started becoming a thing where it's, okay, now if I'm going to do this, if I'm going to be presented in this event, or I'm going to do X, what am I going to get paid for, right?
Yeah, you gotta be protected.
And it's still secondary to me
yeah.
to this day, even though I've slowed down a lot. But I think even when at my highest peak, it wasn't something that I was very keen on because it was just a secondary thing. It was so organically, but I still knew that
wasn't
again,
your primary focus.
It wasn't my primary focus, and it never was. At the end of the day, I still ended up obviously getting rewarded to whatever extent I felt was necessary. But it wasn't something that I was completely like seeking because it was always just a byproduct of the love that I had for what I was doing.
You earned it through,
right?
In the sense that it's a win for them. They want to get their new products there. They're probably doing some studies on, but also just they want to get it to the key people in the communities. Just all the brands have that.
Course.
So
and right now there's
a
bunch of young guys and in a different group. Like I said, it evolves, and I'm happy for that. I'm like I'm always like, the cool thing is that I get reached out. They reach out to me a lot because they know that, hey, I'm the OG. I've done it for so long, and I'm always big on helping out and talking to them. And it's not a thing. I love to communicate with anyone that just asks for it. What do you think? What's going on? How did you do it? What happened in the past? And I'm always like rooting and cheering for everyone else that's trying to jump into that because especially if they're younger, this is your time. It's your time to shine. So go ahead, do it, all of it, make it better. Things are different, but. Yeah, starting out, that's how I started the whole process of, like, I guess, brand ambassadoring. Yeah,
it's a really cool story because in Miami, that's a big thing. I'm a DJ, and in Miami, that's also a big thing. That's just one of my passions, and just like sneakers are for you. But DJs can get taken advantage of, artists can get taken advantage of. But it comes down to them to step up and also protect themselves through good advice, which you're giving, and through having the tools, and through getting contracts and understanding your value. Because musicians, artists, all type of people, if you don't establish your value, then it will just be, you won't really be rewarded for
last year prior to, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's funny you mentioned that. Last year prior to Art Basel, I had a conversation with a local DJ that's pretty popular. And he had something going on, so we had a conversation about what was going on for Art Basel that year prior, like months before. And he had the same thing. He's like he was letting me know about all the issues and all the things and all the challenges. Let's call it better. That he had as a DJ, making sure that all the DJs also unite and are on the same page, so they don't get devalued, right? And so it was funny you mentioned
a fair wage, a fair value. It's not just about exposure. Right. It's not just about an opportunity. Sometimes it is, and you have to understand that's how the way the world
expressed that same concern.
But you also should understand that you're providing a value to the companies and there's just so many, and it's just that it happened.
I think it happens.
It just happens to the right.
It's funny you mentioned that, and that's when I started like also negotiating what I guess what I feel I should be rewarded, right, or how I should be compensated. I had a lot of conversations, and part of my method into negotiations also were that I didn't want to not only undercut myself, but also undercut myself because the others. Because if I start doing that, then they're going to lowball other individuals, right? And then those individuals may need that more than I, because maybe this is their bread and butter. There's a lot of individuals that live off brand ambassador. This is what they do. They don't. That's their 9 to 5, and they do great and they do amazing. And God bless them. They do great on that. So if I say it doesn't matter too much to me, so I'm going to go lower
because I've got a full-time job.
I'm also not doing right by them.
You're right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. If you've got the opportunity, then stand up for the artist.
Exactly. It's the same thing we're talking with the DJ thing. It's funny. So we have a lot of conversations. You don't think about that in the front end, but in the back end, as I was doing that and having conversations, that was one of the things I always had in the back of my head as well. If you really are about the community, that you want to look at it in the whole and make sure that you stand your ground, not only for you, but for what's happening now and for who's coming in the future. Because you always got to think about that.
Sure. Yep. And take care of the industry and just for all the people that your community.
Absolutely.
So that was I love that we covered the stores that you've worked with. Like I had on my list Foot Locker and Champs and Nike and the brands that you've worked with. And do you have a little bit more you want to add about the Miami sneakerhead scene and culture in general versus the rest of the country? Is there a difference in like LA, New York, Chicago, Miami, Dallas? How is Miami special?
It's people will listen to me in this podcast, and some people may just roll their eyes, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Because Miami we got a bad rap sometimes. We got a bad rap in sports. Fair weather fans.
Sure.
Same
That
thing
they leave the games early.
Same thing here in the sneaker community. And one would argue that there's reasons behind that. We don't got a lot of patience here, right? And then also we change on the whim. We move, we come in, we like something, we don't like it, we leave. And that's what happens here because there's not a lot of patience. There's a lot to do, right? Wisconsin's different. You're going to a Packers game, there's nothing to do. You're going to go to the Packers game. There's other things to do.
We're going to go bowling, we're going to go play some darts, play some pool. It's a little slower.
You think about, hey, look, if your product's not satisfying my need, I'm out of here. You know what I mean? And that's why, listen, I'm not a fan of that either. I think that if you are committed, go and do it. So with the sneaker community, it leads to the same thing. And I don't say sneakerhead, so I could say sneaker enthusiast because, and it's not anything bad or anything like that. It's just because there's a difference in a way.
Explain it.
And I'll explain. There's individuals there like sneakers and are into the sneaker scene, but it's really just this is what's in right now. This is cool. I like it. I'm just hyped up. I'm moving on to the next one. After this one, I may sell it. I'm not attached to it.
Okay.
A sneaker enthusiast is more attached to their sneakers.
Okay.
It's more of a collector's piece to them.
So it's like what you call someone who collects art.
Exactly.
Art enthusiast versus an art head.
Same thing.
Got it. Okay,
Same
so we're going to rewire the brain to say sneaker enthusiast.
Exactly. And it's not bad sneakerhead either. That's part of the thing I was talking to you about. We've evolved to the point where you have to understand that you have in the sneaker community, you have an array of individuals that they're resellers. They like sneakers, but not to the point that they're going to obtain the sneaker, they're procuring the sneaker, and they're just going to sell it back to the community at a higher price. They're part of the culture. You may not like that. They may be vultures to you, but that's just part of it. We let that happen. Now it's here. Okay. With that being said, you also have individuals that are sneaker heads, and they are proud that the fact that they love their sneakers, but they're also, in their brain, they're also smart because they say, you know what, I'm not going to keep the sneaker, let it break on me or devalue in me. I'm going to get it, use it, have fun with it, and get rid of it and go move on to the next sneaker. So I have a friend that does that, and he's had the best sneakers you could ever think of. He could afford
what he doesn't hold on to them forever.
But he doesn't hold on to them. His theory is that, and I understand. I get it.
There's differences in the community. Some people do hang on to them, though, right?
And those are more the sneaker enthusiasts. Okay. And so just like the art thing, because again, they hold on to it. It's more of a collector's thing to them. They appreciate quality. They appreciate the storytelling, because sneakers as well, there's stories behind them. There's a story, not all of them, right? If you go to your local Foot Locker and you pick up a pair of Aces or New Balance or whatever, there's a story behind them. But the ones the sneaker community and the sneaker enthusiasts collects, they're not buying the shoe that's sitting at the local Foot Locker there at night. They're buying it to go work out or whatever, but the ones that they're going after are the ones that have a story behind them.
Sure.
The ones that may have a collaboration with another artist, or with it. Now them have collaborations, but some of them just have.
These are not your typical shoes at the running store. No. This is a special edition style, like collaborations. I love that.
I will say about 90%
yeah.
of the sneakers that a sneaker enthusiast has, or you're seeing them in their rotation, you're just not picking up at your local store.
Okay.
It's not going to happen.
Special events and releases.
No, they're special releases. They're released at mom and pop
that's
shops.
Right. The lines around the blocks.
Exactly that.
People camping out.
That's exactly right. They're not. They're just not going to be. And if they did, they released them through a raffle or whatever. They only had a certain amount of, like a certain amount. But that means that when you walk in, by the time you walk in there, that pair's no longer there anymore.
Okay.
You may have some. There are some, but I will say about 90%.
That's part of the value.
That's part of the value and the mystique. Exactly. Just like art, right?
Yeah.
Just like art.
That's really cool. It segues also very well. This is happening often that we were talking with our founder, Mo, before. Our good friend, Mo Hachem, the founder of Sneaker Impact, who is, we'll throw up a photo right now of Mo and Ray hanging out in the studio. And Mo was telling me that sneaker enthusiasts like you are the people that came up with the idea of sustainability within the shoe world long before even Sneaker Impact was born, or environmentalists were talking about it, is that sneaker enthusiasts are known to take very good care of their shoes and hold on to them generally for a long period of time versus runners and other users, consumers that use them for a year or two. My dad used to keep his shoes for 5 to 10 years. He's from the 50s, and so that's our parents do that, and that's also an interesting perspective. But sneaker enthusiasts came up with the idea of valuing a shoe versus it just going in. What happens is 87% of the shoes in the U.S. are going into landfills and the ocean. Only 13% are getting recycled or upcycled for a second life. Sneakerheads have probably been a big part of getting that going. the 1% in the beginning. How are
I
your
would say
thoughts
so.
on that? Yeah.
It's funny because when I met Mo, he has great energy, great vibe, and we got into many conversations. And one of the conversations was that I think without knowing it, sneaker enthusiasts, you know, maybe they're also wired to be for sustainability. And what I mean by that is I don't think just my sneakers, and I'm not a hoarder necessarily, but I like to keep things that I have and keep them well kept. So throwing them in landfills is not a thing. I turn over my clothes every once in a while, but they're not going to landfills. They're going to the Goodwill. They're going to areas that need it. They're going to in bags back to Cuba or something like that, so they could use it when it gets to that point. They're not being destroyed and being thrown in landfills. Going back to the sneaker thing, we talked about that, and I think without even knowing, just the fact that we keep the sneakers, we keep it in good condition, and we don't let go of it from a standpoint that it means something to us, we're sustaining. The sustainability is incredible from a sneaker enthusiast world.
It lives a long life, which is so important.
Absolutely.
The amount of carbon generated by recycling a shoe is 17.5 kilograms per shoe, is what when you just give it a second life. But to build a shoe, it takes a lot of carbon through fossil fuels and other materials. So it really is cool to see an example of a community that like treats it like art, but they also wear it out to special occasions. And then when they're done wearing it, they clean it up. Versus it just getting not really appreciated. Does part of that come from growing up without having a lot, or do you think that's part of the sneakerhead culture around just across the board, or is it? Do you think that also, how much did that play into it? Do you think for you, just not having the ability to just have a parent, because some kids do have 20 pairs of shoes, and then we worked with Jackson Senior High recently, and we helped some of the students there get some shoes that and I say that very humbly because it's something that we don't do often, but that we found a need in the community.
That's great. That's great if you guys could definitely do that, because I think the community definitely needs that. Being able to go out there and have the opportunity to have any of those things where you're able to give back, it's fantastic. And I've done that with Foot Locker a couple of times. We're able to do that. Working with different areas to do that, it helps tremendously. But going back to your question with that
sustainability,
I think as growing up, if I had sneakers, my mom bought me a pair of sneakers and says, hey, the school year started, these need to last you. So I'm not buying you another pair of sneakers. These are the sneakers for the school year. So you learn to take care of your sneakers. Although you're also going outside and playing football and playing tag and running around. So you may have another pair to do that, but you got to understand that these that you have, you're going to. So I think that gets wired in your head as well. And then to attach the fact that you have a pair of sneakers and you know these are sought after. You know it's not going to be easily to obtain another pair, or it's going to come back to you. So I want to take care of it because I want to be able to use it and have it, because it's not that I'm going to be able, next year I'm going to be able to buy another pair. If I like this black pair of New Balance, they're just sitting at the store, once these go bad, like the gray pair, I'm going to get another pair next year, because they're always there year round, all the time, right? The model may change a little bit, but it's different.
So a runner might buy 5 of the same shoe in a row.
Because they love it.
Or just someone who likes to wear New Balance.
You'll see them. You'll always see the same pair. Remember Steve Jobs always wore a great pair of New Balance.
Sure.
Same number, same one. Whatever, they're 990s or whatever. So it's the same one. You could just buy them. They do them all the time.
Yeah.
And the sneakers that we collect, that's not the way it works. Although they retro them now, and they probably retro them a little bit more.
What does that mean?
Retro is just to re-release them.
Okay.
For example, a lot of the popular Jordan shoes now, so Jordan shoes are probably up to number, I don't know what they are, like 39 or whatever, who wants to correct me, or 40 or whatever it is now. It's been, the Jordan series started in 1985, so just think about it, right? Wow. And we're 2000, so they're almost 39, 40, right? We're going to be in 2025. So,
yeah.
But no one in the sneaker community, within the sneaker enthusiasts, really go after anything that's above a 17 or 18. So they re-released the Jordan 1.
Why is that?
Because it's the thing.
It's like not the same.
It's because it's a lifestyle shoe. It's the shoes, the ones they're sought after ones are the Jordan 1s, 2s, and 3s. That means Jordan's model from 1985, 6, and 7 are the, and more 87, 88, 89.
Wow.
Those are the sought after models.
Interesting.
And yes, they're not
the
models.
New technology.
That's correct, not the new technology. Because they're too bulky and too basketball shoey. They like the ones, you saw the ones that Mo was wearing?
They must have worked good for Michael Jordan back in 1985.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's how big.
I remember I got a pair of Jordans when I was a kid.
There you go. Yep. And people loved them.
I grew up near Chicago. I liked Michael Jordan a lot.
That's right, because Wisconsin's very close
Madison,
to that.
2 hours away.
Yep. Wisconsin's right there.
Yep.
I remember Mo was wearing the Jordan 3s. When we saw him today, those are 3s. Jordans.
Okay.
That's
Wow,
model.
Jordans.
That model is from back in what? In
87.
87.
Wow.
And look, it's a retro model, but it's a model of a technology from back then. And that's what's in. Now, there's a lot more and there's different ones, but the ones like those models are the ones that kind of brought where the sneaker community is where
The
we're
1,
at now.
2, and 3s.
Because the Jordans are the ones that like, yes, there's Nike, there's all these different brands now. But what I'm trying to tell you is that that some of them are more sought after than others, and that's the way it leads. But we could go down a rabbit hole with that type.
Sure,
that
the
topic,
rarest
but
ones.
The rarest ones.
What are you
like,
wearing today? Tell us about your
oh,
sneakers.
no, these are the Jumpman Jacks. This is a new model, but it's by Travis Scott, which is a music artist, right?
Yep.
And he
I can see Jack on the bottom.
Yeah,
Yep.
you see that? And he collabed with Nike and Jordan. He's been collabing with Jordan, but he normally collabs with their Jordan 1 model.
Okay.
He's done a Jordan 4 model as well.
Okay.
He's done some Air Maxes with Nike, but eventually, or officially, finally, last month, he released his own model.
Okay.
And so finally, they designed a model where it's his touch and feel, and this is what this shoe is. It's called the Jumpman Jack
Interesting.
model from
like it.
Travis Scott in collaboration with Air Jordan. So
you like the story behind it a lot? That's important to you?
Yeah, I'm a
obviously.
big-
And the
I'm
feel.
big-
How's the feel? Is the feel important too?
yeah, I don't know. It depends. Look, for example, some sneakers, the story is even in the box.
Okay.
Like we keep our boxes. So
Oh,
you
wow.
can understand. So it's like we don't take the box and throw it away.
No.
We keep the box.
Is it because they spend so much time and energy creating a beautiful box, and is also for it's obviously also
Presentation.
protected and presentation.
It's presentation.
Part of the
Exactly.
part of the art.
Not all the sneakers are going to be that way. Some sneakers that come in generic boxes.
Okay.
Some of them, the special releases and stuff like that, some of them come in their own special box.
Really nice
And
boxes.
the paper has their own storytelling behind it, and it gives you a story behind it.
Okay.
Not all of them, but some of them. So I'm giving you just a story behind them. Like most of them, it's like these, when you get a Travis Scott ones, they come with pink paper, and they come with a bandana based on the stuff that he does, and the box is a little bit different. So it's just the whole presentation. Some of them have a different story. He's from Houston, so they're more earth tone colors.
Okay.
Like Kanye when he was doing his stuff with Adidas, and a lot of it was just earth tones, and people just united with that and liked that earth tone color. So all the releases were browns,
Not
and
flashy colors.
Yeah, those type of colors, and some have flashy. You go into the LeBron James, or you go into some of these other basketball stars or Kobe Bryant's. They would have, rest in peace, but he would have amazing shoes with crazy colors as well. But they all dabble into different kind of areas. And the cool thing about sneakers is, I have this conversation all the time, is you wear what you like. Mm-hmm. And someone may think one shoe is ugly, and the other one may think it's a beautiful sneaker. But it's all because the way you look, the lens that you have, the way you look at it, is some of them is hype. Everyone loves that pair of shoes just because it's hyped up. But some models, some people just love, some colors, some people love, and some people are just not attracted to it. Okay. They don't want a white and purple.
So your sneaker can be polarizing.
It is. It could be very polarizing.
Yeah.
To some, they just say, hey, look, it's too much for me. I want a white base and simple colors. Some say, hey, look, no.
Wow.
But it also depends how you wear stuff. Like I told you, look.
Very diverse community.
Very diverse community,
Yeah.
That's why you can have discussions all the time, and you can have conversations, because you're not going to have one opinion. The opinions are going to be vast. Because again, it's art. When it comes to art, then those opinions become they become vast. They could even become controversial.
Absolutely. Yeah, we brought up the Mr. Kanye. I was once part of his. I was part of his musical team.
Oh, really?
Donda too. I
Really?
got to be like in a motorcycle helmet. I was one of the dancers. 300 of us.
No way.
Yeah, I trained for that.
That's
First
awesome.
time ever. I never did anything like it in my life, but I was in a Kanye West production.
And that was here in Miami?
Yeah, at the Marlins at the Lone Center Stadium.
Oh,
Not many
wow.
people know that about me. It was about 2 or 3 years ago.
Wow.
They had us train for 2 days, and we met with his artistic team, and then we got to actually perform with him and Marilyn Manson.
That's
But he's become a
fantastic.
very controversial person.
Yeah,
Is
it's
he
a
a sneaker?
topic.
Is he a sneaker enthusiast?
I would say I would say he.
Who are some of the biggest sneaker enthusiasts
Wow,
besides
he-
PR Sneaks?
You mean? Are you talking about like
People that you respect and like people that you like.
Wow, there's
Shout
just,
out section.
There's so many. In my community here. Look, Kickstands is a friend of mine, and he is, he's well respected as well, and he's here in
I've heard of
Miami.
Kickstands. Yep.
Yeah, in Miami as well. There's B-Boy Spin. There's so many. There's Jumpman Bostic. These are older sneaker enthusiasts they're real big collectors. Right out there, there's so many of them, but I think those are probably the top 3 that I'm like,
Okay.
or top 2 that I'm really. They're huge influences on me because of the way they collect their sneakers or keep their sneakers. But remember, there's also like Kanye's and artists that like that they're a big influence. They're
like,
a big influence.
Musical, all the rappers,
yeah,
and also
like,
like
you know,
fashion designers and like celebrities.
But even outside of that, look, Action Bronson, like, you just released a New Balance today, and everyone, even New Balances are going crazy right now. And he has a collaboration right there. So Billie Eilish, it goes into the women and females side of it. Serena Williams had a big piece of it as well from that side. So there's, I know that there's and I forget her name, but there's a basketball player that she's new. She just really, they just not
Caitlin
released.
Clark, is it?
I think they just showed her first collaboration with Nike today, and people are looking at that. It's all over. It's outside of.
It's crossing over into every brand.
Oh, yeah, everything. It used to be basketball. So those basketball players, Jordan, Ewing, Bird with Converse, and Magic Johnson. Growing up, but it's completely way outside of
culture.
It's now it's within the music culture. I wouldn't even say hip hop. I'll say more than that.
Oh, of course.
I know hip hop plays a big influence, but I think it's even more than that.
Sure, that's right.
Yeah, it morphed into that, but I think it's all over the place. You know what I mean? You see collaborations. Justin Timberlake has done stuff like that. So with Nike as well, when he's pop, right? So you just get so many individuals. I know even Michael Jackson had an LA Gear.
Oh, wow.
Back in the early 90s. So there's just a lot of individuals have dabbled into sneakers and jumped in outside of basketball. And I think now even more, the ones that move the needle are not even basketball players, because they used to be basketball shoes, but the LeBrons and they don't move the needle like the other shoes do now. Virgil that did a lot of collaborations with, rest in peace as well, that he passed away, and that he had his Off-White brand, and he also was the creative director for Louis Vuitton before he passed away. He had amazing collaborations with Nike, which helped them move their market space even more back in 2016, 17 or something like that. He was big. He was a big influence, and he was just a creative director. It's huge.
That's a really big, again, this is a big topic, shoes and the world in general, because everyone needs a pair of shoes, and, art and fashion is very important. So I wanted to come back to Sneaker Impact. How did you meet our founder, Mo, and what have you noticed about us over the years? We're a young brand, but if we can do a little Sneaker Impact section and a little bit about how you met Mo, and I know you guys are good friends.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was really just a good vibe with Mo. So I met him at Grails, and listen, Grails I love here in Miami. It's the only...
It's in Wynwood?
It's in Wynwood.
Okay. It's
the only sneaker, I would say, bar, or at a time where it started, it was only sneaker sports bar in the world, right? And a lot of individuals come and they want to visit Grails to be a part of that. I think they do a great job of catering to the community with sports as well, catering to the individuals that come to Wynwood, and also but evolve it into also having a lot of sneaker enthusiasts want to visit and go out there.
Events too. I went to an event there myself.
Yeah,
It was a big party, and I noticed that they have a lot of TVs. Is it like the most in Wynwood? They have
their sports bar. Remember?
So they have 30 or 40 monitors that are gigantic everywhere, and then they also had a lot of really nice couches.
Yeah.
And then I noticed that they were doing a Sneaker Impact, had a charity event there, and I noticed that other sneaker enthusiasts were there with their art.
Right.
So it was just really cool to see that. I remember they had a shoe drink as well.
Yeah, they have a drink, and they have even shots where, again, they have a regular size one, they have a shot one, and then they got this huge, gigantic one. It's like for a party of 10 or 15.
Yeah.
And again, it's really just for a good time from that standpoint, but you can get your shoe drink, like you call it, and have great food and stuff like that. So anyway,
that's where you met Mo.
So I had an event. There was an event that we were having, and Sneaker Impact was there, and I met Mo. Okay. I got introduced to Mo. We had great conversations there. He really was passionate about Sneaker Impact and what it means, right, and what it does. He really helped me understand, again, sustainability and everything you discussed earlier, and that really intrigued me. And I was like, hey, Mo, I'd like to visit your area. Of course, Ray. When would you like to come? Me and my boy Kickstands actually came out here, and we took a tour of Mo, and we hung out with Mo for an afternoon.
The whole facility.
Where
they sort the shoes
from
and they
beginning
receive
to
them.
end, man.
Wow.
From beginning to end.
People that work here,
people that work here, on the back, on the side, everything.
Haitian families.
And everything they do when they come here, their families, everything they take back. Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah, their own business that they can set up here.
Own business. There's how many micro businesses were there?
20 plus.
20 plus, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
You don't realize it, right? And how much they're putting back into those areas, right?
Yeah.
Into their world. I just felt that it was fantastic. And I was like, I told Mo, man, what you got going on here is fantastic. And I think that your story and your brand, you got to put it out there more, because sometimes it gets misconstrued and not understood. But I think that if people understand the story and people understand what you guys are all about, I think that they'll be all for it. Just gotta go out there and put it out there. And I've seen it grow. I've seen a lot of things that the brand has done and continues to do. I'm always proud, and I always tell them, whatever you need, I'm here, man. Not only as a friend, but anyone that can help out.
That's awesome. Thank you for promoting it over the years.
Of course.
Have you some of the events before we move to the last section, like Art Basel? Tell people a little bit about Art Basel that aren't familiar with Miami. I know it's one of the biggest festivals in the world.
Yeah, but what's Art Basel? Think about it. Art Basel is just
like a giant week of parties.
But
also,
organically or the foundation of Art Basel, what is it? It's
art. So
right?
artists from around the world.
Artists from the world, yeah. So
it started in Switzerland, right?
Correct. And it started out with,
Miami,
hey, look, come out here, introduce your art, showcase your art, sell your art. That was it.
For a week.
For a week, really?
In December.
Starts in December. Starts off really like on
First
Wednesday,
week of December.
all the way to about
That's my birthday
Sunday.
week, actually.
There you go. It's a party week.
There's been weeks where it started on Tuesday and it went till Sunday.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah.
But it started. You described it best. Started becoming really a party, which
There's
is
satellites of parties everywhere. There's thousands of parties.
And we talked about sneakers is art. And the individuals around sneakers noticed that. And so not only brands, but stores start taking advantage and started creating a lot of exclusive stuff just for Art Basel.
So tell us some examples of stuff you've done.
So I started working with brands. I think based in 2015 and 16, I did something with Aces.
Okay.
And we started working out with something on, hey, look, come out here. We're going to go ahead and do an event. Art Basel style, different colors, release a different color shoe, release an Art Basel exclusive shoe. And I started working with stuff like that. And then from there, it started off with, okay, let's just do an event, similar like to a sneaker event, but let's focus it on Art Basel. And not only that, let's have artists come in, showcase their art. Maybe it has some sneaker ties or influence in it. And also people go out there and get this is where Grails comes into play. Grails does a great job of having events throughout the time frame, but they get individuals to sponsor, bring out shoes, and now you paint your shoes. Now you color your shoes.
Yeah, I've seen those events. I went to one in Hollywood one time where you create your own custom shoes.
Absolutely.
They actually have used like acetone to remove the colors.
Exactly, and then you have your own paint, your own special laces, the whole thing.
You can decorate them to your liking.
Absolutely,
That's really cool.
I worked with one with Grails that brought in Mosh, which is for his customizing work. He also does his own shoe now, and he's evolved a lot and works with a lot of like stars and athletes and stuff like that. He came down and they used his white shoe as a base, and they did a whole contest where a bunch of artists did, and then they auction off the shoe.
Oh wow! Okay.
It works out that way. It's just all based on art, right? But they do a lot of sneaker collaborations during that time, focusing on Art Basel, focusing on the colors of Art Basel, a lot of white and pinks and stuff like that. So I've done just a plethora of different stuff, but all around events that includes the party scene, getting the sneaker community involved with Art Basel during that, and bringing them in to work.
What else? Do they have special charities that sneaker enthusiasts get behind too? What besides Sneaker Impact? I know that's actually probably one of the ones that we hope is always present in these. We want to be a part, but are there other things that they do to give back?
Oh man, there's definitely. I've worked with quite a few with Foot Locker.
Okay.
They do a lot of stuff, especially during the Thanksgiving time frame and the holidays. And we did one with Alonzo Mourning one time from the Miami Heat, and we just brought in again food, turkeys, gave them out to families, gave out shoes for the kids and even for the adults that need them as well. We've done charities like that in the past over here. So we've been involved, but usually during the holiday times is what we've done. That
makes sense, during Thanksgiving and Christmas. Cool. So we got a couple sections left. We're closing it out soon because we know your time is valuable.
No worries. I'm having a great old time over here. Listen, you talk about sneakers.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. We're good.
It's TGIF. Besides being a sneaker enthusiast, what are some of your favorite things to do in Miami? And tell us a little bit about what, if you don't mind, your family, because I heard you're a dad.
My favorite thing to do is spend time with my family. Basically, that's it. I work my 9 to 5. After that, I try to keep myself healthy, go to the gym for the most I can. My kids are in gymnastics. During the week, it's really difficult because they got gymnastics. While the school's still in, but while school's there, they got to do their homework. I got to help them with that stuff, get everything settled, get them settled, make sure their schooling is right. But then during the weekends, just have fun. Yeah. Go to the beach in the morning. We like to go to the beach in the morning.
Okay.
It's too hot. It's extreme.
Do you prefer a certain beach in Miami?
Yeah, actually, I go down to what's the beach over there in South Beach, the last portion of the beach.
South Point.
South Point.
South
So we go to South Point. So this is the thing: we go early in the morning, usually on Saturday or Sunday, and we go at around 7:30 in the morning.
Okay.
7 in the morning, and we find parking.
That's
because
really
it's difficult
calm
to
time
find.
of day too.
Yeah,
down there.
and it's hard to find parking.
It's still hard to find.
But you find it easily. You can't go at noon.
No, at
there.
noon,
It's impossible.
like
Where
3
are you gonna find
o'clock,
parking? We find parking, right? And get our things in. It's a beautiful area. You got nice scenery. You go by the rocks, and the kids love it because
protected,
again, it's the sun's not crazy yet. They get to enjoy the water.
Start the day nicely.
By 11:30. We're out. You're hungry. Go to lunch and do some stuff. It's not every weekend, but some stuff. The beach is one of those things during the summer that we like.
It's in the rotation.
It's in the rotation. If not, it's whatever my kids like. But I try to keep them active. I try to keep them out of the iPads and stuff like that. Or try to say, hey, look, let's go. I have two daughters, and they like to skateboard and they like to do all kinds of different things or be outside. But during the summer, it's just hot. So we try to do early outside stuff. So during the day, it's like, hey. Yeah, we got to figure something out.
1 o'clock, you got to be inside or something.
But look, but you're in Miami. Tourists, what are they doing? They're out on the beach at 1 o'clock. And for
being
burning,
a local,
you don't do that. Locals don't do that.
The winter we don't like the water in the winter as much. I'm saying we now, I'm including myself in. But
you've been here for how long?
16 years.
You're embedded in here already. Once you're in the 15th year, you're embedded already.
Awesome.
That's it. You're local already.
I like the 305 till I die expression, but during one of the hurricanes, I had to evacuate, and one of my friends who was from here revoked my status temporarily.
Oh, yeah.
Because I evacuated during
funny.
Matthew or one of the hurricanes. But I was actually going home anyways to Wisconsin. I had bought my ticket before the hurricane. Let the record show. I had bought the tickets before the hurricane was ever a hurricane. And I happened to fly out the day before everyone evacuated Miami, and then it missed Miami. And they gave everyone endless shit for saying, you can't say anymore, because it was a thing. They used to say 305 till I die, because 305 is part of your identity.
That's right.
Being from the 608 from Madison, I've fallen in love with Miami too. But to call myself a local, I don't know if I'm there yet.
After you told me the story of you evacuating, I'm revoking that 305. So you got to figure that out. Because I had a boss that was been here for years at one time, and he's originally from Pittsburgh. And he evacuated as well one time during a hurricane.
Yeah, they're like, you're not 305 too.
Hey, right. No, listen, guy, that's it. It's not happening anymore. You're not 305. How are you? Oh, no, the hurricane's coming. And we've been blessed here because he has hit hard Andrew years ago.
Yes.
And we did get swiped by
Wilma.
Katrina and Wilma. We got swiped by
that was before I came here.
Yeah, we got swiped.
That was 2006.
Yeah, and
it's been a little bit of a respite.
Yes, but it's been a while. It's category 1 or 2. Yeah, but we haven't really got hit by again.
Thank God, yeah.
Bless us a category 5 because it's devastating, right?
Yeah.
Or a category 4. But
there's a big risk where we live.
There's a big risk. No, absolutely, it's a huge risk because then so you understand the individuals. I don't know now with the family what would happen. I've always stayed. It's never been an issue to me, but. You think about it, we're going to have a really big, really heavy hurricane
starting
season.
Right now, actually.
Yeah, and it's going to be heavy because of the heat.
Yeah.
And we had El Nino last year. It's getting off topic, but that also prevented hurricanes from coming because of the airflow that was pushing down any potential hurricanes. That's gone. So now it's all vapor and all heat coming up. So
it's been
we have a
than
potential active hurricane season.
Yeah,
it's
going to be an active there. So we got to be aware of that and be prepared. And as far as evacuating, it's a case by case basis. If you live in the beach, they actually make you evacuate.
No, they make you do it.
I was living in Miami Beach at the time, but I got so much crap on social media. I'll never.
Yeah, but usually you go inland. You don't leave to Wisconsin. You're like, that's it. What are you doing? Like, go up a little more.
Everyone was flooding the airports, and then people were trying to drive to Orlando, and the traffic was so bad they were stuck. They couldn't even get. So if you did have a flight, or if you didn't, you'd have to pay. If you did, you were lucky. If you didn't, you're gonna have to pay $1,000+ for a $200 flight. And then what ended up happening was it missed Miami, and then it went up to, I believe, Atlanta, where everyone had gone to, or the East Coast.
I remember that.
And it was just following them up.
And that's what happens to hurricanes. They're unpredictable.
Yeah.
See, we're here in that panhandle, right? Yeah, we're always subject to getting hit. But because of wind shear, you get the hurricanes that move. So you say it's coming, and then it just some turn, and it goes up. And it's very dangerous. You've got a good point. Many were like that. Yeah. That's what we've been missed because we're looking at we're going to get a direct hit. Sometimes it just maneuvers over and wobbles and it goes
50
up north.
miles off coast. It's so close.
And it could just
10 miles off.
Yeah, it just sometimes it just skitters right by the coast and it just keeps going up. Hit St. Augustine or.
Were you here during Andrew?
I was here during Andrew. Yeah. Absolutely, I remember it vividly.
What do you remember most particularly?
The good thing is we did not get hit. We were supposed to.
Homestead got hit hard.
We were supposed to get hit hard. The eye was supposed to hit North Miami. It was supposed to pass right by us.
Oh,
exactly what I'm talking about. And towards as it was coming in, right. it wobbled. It just did a turn like this. It was just a wobble,
Yeah,
and that wobble took it to Homestead. And it wasn't it. Yeah, if you go look at the records and everything, it was right towards, because it happened at night, right?
Like, didn't it also intensify a lot the last
minute?
It
intensified. It went from a 4 to a 5.
Yeah.
It was category 4 all the time, and it hit up because there's a lot of the warm waters. There's a lot of warm waters there, and it intensified, and it hit Homestead, and they weren't prepared as much because they thought, hey, like us, we lost power for 2 weeks. Yeah, but the home didn't have much damage. Okay. But if you lived in a
still lost power for 2 weeks.
Yeah, we still lost power for 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, I think
the whole.
I don't know who had power. We lost power as well, and we didn't have generators. So luckily, our neighbors of ours had generator. I remember we used hot wire that generator with a wire across the street. We used all kind of stuff. All the food was basically gritting outside.
Yeah,
no one had power, but Homestead got devastated. Homestead had to become new because it was just wiped. Yeah. It was wiped out. No, the whole city was wiped out.
Well, it was wiped out.
Yeah, it was wiped out. They had to rebuild everything, but then they changed building codes and stuff like that. But again, I don't think at Category 5 you could really if you have a direct impact. It'd be difficult to.
You have to evacuate
unless you have a base or something that's made out of it. Once a window breaks, if it does, and that's the scary part.
Yeah, that's part of living in Miami.
It's part of Miami. If you live up in the Midwest and you have the tornadoes.
Yeah,
I lived in Tennessee for 6 years, and although we were not in Tornado Alley per se, we were right towards the end of it. Missouri used to get a lot of that stuff, and we had a bluff in Memphis. A lot of times you miss those tornadoes, even though we got them. But still, it was always, I remember doing the tornado. Yeah, I remember.
There's no basements down here as much because of the limestone.
There's no basements at all.
In the Midwest, we need basements because of
tornadoes.
That's where you go to hide.
Yeah, you get them all the time. And that's scary because they come. There's a cell coming, and all you get is an alert, right? And all of a sudden, you got to go hide. I remember my first year in Memphis, we had that, and I was like, what is that alert?
It's a new experience for some people.
What is that? And getting home, you start seeing the winds, and we had a cell very close to us. And the tornado did hit, but it hit a mall, maybe like 10 miles out. Yeah, it hit a mall. It hit I think a Macy's, and it messed it up. But it was prevalent back then. Here, we may get a tornado, but they'll pop in. They're very weak.
The water spouts don't even do much damage.
Exactly. Exactly. Those
they look really cool, the ones on the water, but I guess they don't do a lot of damage. Well, maybe they can pick up a boat.
They'll pick up something if they come to you, but
depends on the.
But an F3 or F4 or F5 tornado.
All those ones in the Midwest are a mile wide.
Yeah, they're
in Kansas
and scary.
Yeah, that's the season we're in, guys. This is life, so we got to be prepared.
Take care of your sneakers so they don't fly away.
Exactly. Keep them. You got to keep them off the ground too. You don't want them to get wet. Do you store them in like a shelving system? Do you have a refrigeration cryotherapy? Are you?
Oh wow!
Nitrogen gas, like protection.
So basically,
what is your fanciest one too, or the nicest one, the one closest to your heart?
So, like my storage or my shoe?
Like shoe. Do you have a most valuable shoe?
It's funny because people ask, "What's your most favorite shoe?" Okay, and what's the shoe you hold dear to your heart? Remember I told you the story about the Shaquille O'Neal shoe?
The first one ever.
Correct. You had, So in 2016, they re-released.
Okay.
And it was in very limited quantities. At the time, now you could pick one up for $80 at a resale or whatever, because they released so many times after that. But they never released again from 1992 to 2016. That's a lot of years. So they re-released in 2016. I don't have them. Remember what happened? So I had to have them. So I went to they had a release party at a local store that was here that's closed now, called Mr. R's in South Beach.
I know. I used to work at Mr. I was an employee of Mr. R's.
You're kidding? Really,
no.
Rob?
Probably, but I know Mr. R himself.
I know Joe. Mr. R too. Yeah, Joe.
Shout out to Joe. Yeah. He's a Sneaker Impact partner. Yeah. I worked for them when I lived in Miami Beach.
Mr. R's was my spot to get shoes back in the day, especially when you were at the one in
They were open since 1973, I believe.
Yeah, 1973.
That's what they opened a second store on Washington Avenue.
Right.
I worked at the first store on Washington and
Clyde.
I worked there in 2009 and 10.
Yeah, Clyde was there back then too. Clyde was there. Clyde works at Puma now.
Joe and his wife are sweethearts. I've seen them even last year. Shout out to Mr. Joe.
Awesome. Yeah.
So that's cool. You did something big out there or that's where the release party was.
The release party was at Joe's shop in the new one, 1973. Right now.
The new one on Washington.
The new one, because I think that they opened around 2015 or 16 there. Right.
Mm-hmm. Right? They eventually moved locations.
So that location that they moved, which was no longer in, what was that, in Alton Road? It
was Lincoln.
My apologies. In Lincoln, right. So in Lincoln.
At least the one I worked at.
That's it. That was the main one. That's the first one.
On the corner.
I used to get a lot of
by McDonald's. There. That was a very big corner right there.
It was.
A big corner of Lincoln and Washington.
Yeah, you guys used to get all the cool shoes back then.
Yeah, I was a runner, and I was working there, and but we had a lot of the Nike stuff.
Yeah, I know.
We were a big Nike account.
You had a huge Nike. Back then. Mm-hmm. Things changed later.
Yeah, Mr. R's is legendary. That was the main not running, I would say shoe store in Miami Beach for the last 30.
It was. They were legendary. It's funny.
I think they recently closed their doors. Too,
they recently closed their doors.
We sent them just regards or just best wishes on the next chapter because at some point Joe and his wife want to probably
want to retire and enjoy some life, right? They worked so hard all those years. Yeah. But the release party was there.
Okay.
And so it was put together by a friend of mine named Clyde, who also worked there with Mr. Ars. And anyway, he put it over with Reebok and the whole thing. I went over there and got my pair. And to me, that's the pair. That's the pair
that's your favorite.
Because that pair takes me back to my memory. And I remember my mom busting her butt to get me that pair of shoes. Like the story I told you. People know I always tell the story, that's my shoe. I have that shoe and I don't wear it. It's up like on a pedestal. It's not even worth much.
Do your kids know the story?
No, they're too young.
They're too young.
They're too young. And in reality, I don't really.
That's an important story, though. I think for
don't know it.
You've probably taught. I'm sure you've taught.
I've told the story. I've told the story in several sneakers.
The value of what you have.
Correct. It's not even a value. It doesn't.
Appreciating gratitude.
And there's not even a value from a monetary standpoint of that shoe. Doesn't cost that much.
Like you said,
but to me, it's a value. So there's more of a value to it than I have shoes that cost $3,000, $4,000. I could sell them for $3,000 or $4,000.
It's a personal value.
Right. It's a personal value.
It's personal.
Yeah, and it's a big deal to me. So for me, I won't trade that shoe away.
That's really cool. Okay, so that's the favorite shoe of Mr. Ray Guzman, and I have a couple more questions. So, favorite restaurant in Miami? Quick shots.
Huh?
Quick shots.
Quick shots. Favorite restaurant in Miami? Wow. I would say...
It's hard to pick one, I know.
It's hard to pick one because they are
Where do you like to eat lately?
Many.
Is there a spot that you just...
I eat a lot at home. I
Okay.
try to keep myself healthy.
Okay.
But so I would say when I want to have a cheat meal is when the favorite restaurant pieces come into play, right? When I want to really cheat, I just go to Flanagan's, man.
Okay, I love Flanagan's. I was just talking about them yesterday.
I just go to get the wings, get the ribs.
They're Miami based.
They're Miami based, and actually
it's a fun hangout.
They're doing something with the Martins tomorrow, which I'm going to go to with my kids.
Okay.
Yeah. So
shout out to Flanagan's. Yeah, they do a race with the running community called Flanagan's Rocking Rib Run.
Yeah.
I've done that a couple times.
Yeah, I seen that. I love stuff that they do with the community. They're always doing something with the community. I like and again, it's not a big. There's all the big restaurants I can name, but the reason I name Flanagan's is because whenever I say, hey, look, I want to sit there now, I have myself really some ribs and some wings.
Low key,
I just go to my local Flanagan's.
And they got the famous green cup.
And I have two. And I love that.
The tall green plastic cup.
I don't take any of those things anytime, but I have two green cups.
Yeah.
I have the big one and I have the kids one. Okay. And I have my kids one when I want to make myself a drink at home. I'll make it my Flanagan's cup for a small one, so the kids cup, and I just keep that one and the big one, which is funny. Right? You gotta have your Flanagan's cup. So me, I like to go to Flanagan's. I'm very low key, and that's my spot.
That's cool. I like that answer. Okay, we talked about your favorite shoes. Favorite Miami sport.
Miami sport. I'm big into football and basketball, man. The Miami Heat and the Miami Dolphins. I could say Miami Highlight, all that stuff that they do with the rackets.
I have a friend who does that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's awesome, and I've been to it. But to be honest with you, I'm big into.
So you go to the Dolphin games, or do you like to?
It's funny you say that. So, and I talk about it all the time. I don't go to the Miami Dolphin games as prevalently because I hate the heat, and there's no roof, so it's so hot. It's so hot. So if I guess I don't mean to sound like almost going to sound like I'm not a guy from Miami, but
you're soft.
If I'm soft, yeah, exactly. But sometimes I get invited to a box suite, and I would go. And I would say, man, if I get a friend and invites me to a box suite, then I'll go. But out there in the heat and that heat getting you, it's so hard. Last year we were planning on going, so we made plans to go and everything, and it had to be a night game. And I'll go to a night game. So the night game I go. But I went. But I wouldn't. But a day game is really difficult for me to go in August and September in that heat. It's just hard. So anyway, I don't go as much. But do I go to the Heat games? Yes, I go to Heat games. I love the Heat games.
Awesome.
I love the experience. I like Marlins. That's where I'm going tomorrow. And I never taken my kids. This is going to be the first time. So I'm really excited because I want them to. Because I think Marlins do a really good job. Although the product is not the best with stuff. We always have a mediocre team, subpar team. But I do a really good job with making it a big family atmosphere, interacting with the community and the events. They do a good job with that.
They're out at a lot of the 5Ks I do.
All the time. They're big on that. Their marketing team and what they do with the community is fantastic. And
shout out to the Marlins.
Shout out to the Marlins for that. From that standpoint, I want to bring them and make that more of a tradition if they like it. Because they're my girls and they may not like it as much. I like gymnastics, so I'm going to try to see if I introduce them to this and see if they like it. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Did some shout outs. Let's see here. What type of future goals do you have for your brand and for your life?
The honest truth is, I'm winding down when it comes to the sneaker brand ambassador type of stuff, or whatever they want to call it, influencer. I don't like that name, but yeah, brand ambassador, whatever. Because influencer, fine, you could, because sometimes take a picture. You took a picture of those shoes, they look awesome. You're making me want to buy it. You just influence someone to buy it, right?
You're not an influencer in the cheesy way.
It's more, okay, now you see you could put together the shoe this way. It does look this way. It looks great. And back then, I used to get a lot of early pairs before they released. So I would show a pair off, and they were like, oh my goodness, it looks great. Now, because you word it, I think I'm going to buy it. Mm-hmm. So that's the part of the influencing. You influence someone to buy it, right? So that's where the whole marketing piece comes in, and the influencers, it works out. So going back, as the years have progressed, I've diminished that more and more, or I'm dabbled into other things. Like I do skincare with some companies.
I used to work for a skincare company.
So I do things with
I've designed skincare products.
That's crazy.
Let's talk skincare. What's your favorite?
Right now, I was working for a good year with Pinnacle.
Okay.
Or Particle, because Pinnacle is another one that I actually.
We can change that.
Particle for Men. Yeah. So Particle for Men, I worked with them for a year. And I did a lot of their face and neck cream and stuff like that. So you'll see it in some commercials that they're out there as well. So anyways, I dabbled into different things. I did another skincare, and I can't remember the name right now, but I did one about a year and a half ago that I did before Particle for Men. I've worked with that. I've done some coffee brands as well. You know what I mean? Because sometimes I'll post pictures of coffee and stuff like that. I've done hats, like I told you.
It's a lifestyle then.
So it's a lifestyle. So people see you do different things, and the thing is, it's really... Are you attracting another audience? Because my audience is sneakers mostly, but they'll look and they'll say, hey, you may be attracting an audience that hey, look, loves hat because I love to wear caps. Then they'll do that.
Yes.
Or they'll see me, I take a lot of full body pictures. Hey, look, you're a guy in your 40s, maybe do some skincare and showcase, hey, skincare is something good. That's how I got hit up. I got hit up by Fat Joe's representative to do a beard thing. I haven't even taken pictures of that yet.
You represent a demographic, too,
yeah,
and I do too.
Exactly.
We're both in our 40s. And
exactly. It represented demographic. The individuals hit me up with the beard. It's called Rewind, right? Okay. And it was, I think that Fat Joe and DJ kind of do a big thing of working with them, right, on that. They hit me up. We talked about it a little bit, and they sent me a bunch of their products. So I'm working on doing something with them as well. So that just happened about maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Oh wow!
So I get stuff that comes in, but I don't. Do you have
an agent helping you, or this is just organic?
No, this is just me. It's organic. I don't.
Wow.
I'm not even looking for it.
You're not even looking.
So what I'm trying to tell you is
just getting, but through the messages, obviously.
And again, I get a lot, but the ones I really just. I go into or I work with accounts and I work with brands that I believe in.
Okay.
So if I feel like, hey, look, that product is something I could use, right? And it looks good, and I read up on them, then I do it. But there's a lot of times that are just stuff that I
passed on. Oh
my goodness, because you get so many different offers all the time, and I'm not doing this. This is just a side thing. Brand, and then if it works for me, and it fits, is conducive for what I'm doing, then I'll work with it, right? But going back to the future, it's like I'm slowing down in this. But I think my future will be to continue to be a influencer and ambassador, but more to the community that's growing within the sneaker community now, within the culture now, and be part of stuff like this. Be part of conversations. Be part of different forums where I could talk about the history, talk about what's going on, and be there to help and support others. I think that's where I'm at right now. It's more in that kind of area. Or like when you retire, that's the kind of situation. And I think now I'm more in that later portions of my years in that when it comes to that. And want to see the younger generation take this. And they've already started doing it, and things have changed a lot. The social media, like I'm not even into TikTok, and TikTok is what it is, right? And and for me that's foreign because I haven't even dabbled in that because that's another generation.
I haven't either. Yeah.
But that's another realm. And
it's great for influencers.
It's huge for influencers.
But you don't use
but
it. So
I'm already a generation prior to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm already a generation prior to that. But I think a lot of brands understand that there's still individuals that fit my demographic or fit the demographic that I'm still well respected, or individuals in our demographic are well respected because we come with an experience level that we could also talk through or about. Yeah. And I think that's the part that I talked to you earlier that is good because you have the past, you got the present, and you got the future, and you got to understand all that. You can't say, oh, it used to be like that and it was better before.
Sure.
Yeah, it was better at the time, but things change. So now you got to learn to adapt. And I'm not a hater on any of that stuff. I'm always like, hey, look, if that's what's going on now, learn to live with it, learn to understand it, and then learn to unite. Hey, look, this is what the past is, this is the history behind it. Here's how you could, improve it and make it better.
Okay. Yeah, adapting is key. And,
gotta adapt, man. The only thing that's constant in this world is change.
Inflation and everything.
Inflation, change, man. You gotta adapt, right? If it costs $10 now, do you have to buy it? If a burger costs $10 now, do you have to buy it? No. Do you want it? No. You got to change. If you want it as bad, then you better make $10 to be able to afford it. And let's just change the way it is now.
Yeah.
Housing, same thing. It's
You're not
expensive
going
now.
to change the world.
You're not going to change the world. It is.
And you can, but it takes a
You
slow.
can. You get into politics and
happen.
stuff like that, and you make sure you elect your proper political figures in your local area and whatever the case may be. But even with that being said, things that once it's there, you're not going to... Once we are with inflation, it's not going to rewind.
Yeah. I mean, we can make, I shouldn't say there's no change that can happen, but our dollar does, how we spend our money does influence the world.
Right.
It's just that we aren't going to be able to say, oh, let's take things back like they were in 1985.
No, you're
not putting the social media back in the,
No.
They're not putting cryptocurrency back in the toothpaste bottle.
You have to change.
Yeah, that's the future
You gotta
of
change to
currency
it.
with the future of fashion. We have AI here now.
Exactly.
Helping
You
us with
change
these
with it.
podcasts. Yeah.
Right. Now AI is here. So how do you now evolve with that? How do you change with that? This costs this much. This is this. How do you? So you have to make sure that you adapt to that and change with that. And you may not like it. So now how do you make it better?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or how
Social media is a great example too. It didn't exist before 2010 or I mean, MySpace was
Yeah, there was MySpace. That's what, but
that
I
wasn't
think
really the
what
focus
really
of it.
impacted social media was Instagram. I think that was 2011 takeoff or whatever the case.
Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, to
I
Facebook.
saw you're on X. You do you have a presence on X? Or not?
No, I don't have.
Okay,
I'm on X. I'm on X, but it's
I
more
thought I
of
saw
a. It's more. I'm on X, but it's really.
You're
It's not a
not
presence.
active.
If you see it, it's more of a. I'm active, but it's only active because I'm following like sports accounts and also sneaker accounts, and I like to read, but I don't necessarily post on there. No.
But your Instagram account is.
That's where I'm more. Yeah, that's where I'm more well known for.
Okay, so that's how people can stay in touch with you the best.
Absolutely.
Is there any other websites or other things you want to give a shout out to that you've been working on or projects for people to follow and learn more about?
No, to be honest with you, you could just, like I said, follow me on PR_sneaks23 on Instagram. That's it. I give a shout out to all my local areas. We've already talked about Grails.
Yep.
Sandviper I've worked with as a brand. You guys got to go check them out as well. Sandviper.
Yeah, I looked up Sandviper today. They're based out of Miami Beach.
They're based of
clothing
Miami, Fort Lauderdale. David is their founder, and he does a really great job of working on that brand, impacting. They're going to schools, and he does a lot of stuff with their uniforms, basketball and football. He has a wide range of products within that, and he's really trying to take it off. He's a one-man show taking it off, but yeah, I think he's gonna be a big brand at some point and be up there with the Under Armours and stuff. He's got to go watch out for it because he has drive and passion. If you have drive and passion, you'll definitely do it. But yeah, like I said, anything local, I like to. That's another thing. I'm big into supporting local efforts, but local efforts that have a vision and then they have a good foundation as to what they're doing. That's why I love Mo and Sneaker Impact and your team. Anything to do with like Grails, and I've worked with them in the past, or anything like that. The sneaker stores out there, we talk about Mr. R's, you got Shoe Gallery.
Get creative and do
you
stuff.
got creative all the time. There's always stuff. I've been in runs sometimes. I'm not a runner, but I've done it. I've done 5Ks or whatever at some point. I know that Shoe Gallery and Danny and his team does stuff like that.
Late night money.
Yep. You know what I'm saying? I've been part of those years ago. I don't do them as much anymore. I'm older at the end of it, and I'm not a runner.
Bring the girls out eventually when they're ready.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Run Club or South Beach Run Club. Frankie, our good friend, is the founder of that with the Miami Marathon. But you could bring them out to.
Did you guys work in Nike in their Run Club down in South Beach?
And it started at Mr. R's.
Yeah.
Frankie Ruiz, shout out to him. He started it at Mr. R's, 2008, and then he moved it to the Nike store.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's still
I've been invited
to
that
on Thursday nights.
but I've been invited to it. I just haven't gone. And so those kickstands.
I can't go right now because I had foot surgery. But once I can go starting in July again. I had to take a 3 or 4 month break, but I used to go for years, and it's the best.
Let me know.
Yeah,
I've been invited. And
what part of the city? Or never mind. You're not talking about that.
Yeah, no, I'm in Cutler Bay, so I'm closer to the Homestead area. But
okay, because they have some run clubs down south too.
Yeah, I know they have many, but I'll come down. I don't mind driving. So at the end of the day, I've been invited, just I haven't gone.
There's
to
a Bricko Run Club too on Tuesday nights.
There's a Bricko Run Club. That's right.
There's the one on Monday night that our dear friend, he's going to be on the podcast soon. It's called No Sleeping Run Club, and he's partnered with Puma. Carlos leading that one, Carlos Del Valle, and he's with Puma and CL, which is a apparel brand, but they are out of the American Social in Brickell on Mondays, and then we also have the Little Havana Run Club on Wednesdays. I'm having the founders on in 2 weeks. Letitia and David, they started an amazing run club in Little Havana.
That's fantastic.
And they meet by the Bay of Pigs on Monument on Wednesdays. And there's so many others around town. There's so many. There's over 100 run clubs. Yeah. Just like the sneaker enthusiast community. It's like there's
huge community.
There's just so many communities. We were talking about that before the podcast of how that's how Sneaker Impact is getting in. There's so much to get involved in. That's what we're like. It's so much.
You can dabble in so many different things.
We need more support because there's a lot of opportunities. We go to universities on a weekly basis almost. We go to events like Earth Day is just a big week of the year for us, but we also do stuff with many invitations we get. We got an invitation to do the shoe decoration one time at a club in Hollywood, and I went up and it was awesome. So it was outside of my comfort zone, I would say.
That's the good part. Getting outside
going
of the
to
comfort
grills
zone
was actually outside my comfort zone because when I walked in there, I didn't really. It was a club. It was a scene.
It was a scene, right? A lot of energy.
I didn't know anyone.
A lot of energy.
I didn't know anyone yet, so I just was like, oh my god, and like. I'm from Wisconsin, and I walk in this crazy experience. People were on the couches dancing and stuff, and yet there was.
What time did you go? It was later on.
It was 11 or maybe.
Yeah, once you pass like the 10 o'clock hour, I think around Wynwood, the dancing on couches starts happening. You gotta. So I usually go earlier than that, but listen, anytime you go to any of these things, let me know. I'll try to take part of it, whatever the case may be, and we'll have a good time. Listen, anything to support the local community.
So reach out to @PR_Sneaks23. It's been a really great day hanging out with you, Ray.
Likewise, man. Likewise.
We've covered a lot of great topics. We're going to get this out as soon as possible, and we'll have you back in the future. This is a new studio, and you're welcome to bring guests too. You're part of the family here. So is there any closing thoughts you want to share with Sneaker Impact? I always ask people about love and hope and just, what inspirational message they want to leave.
Man, I say I'm always thinking about this, man. I said this probably a couple of times here. The only thing that's constant is change. Mm-hmm. And the message I'll give is that let's just all continue evolving as individuals and send positive messages out there. There's a lot of negativity going on, and there's a lot of competition, and there's a lot of elbows shoving, but at the end of the day, man, be out there to support one another, each other, and do what you can in order to always live or leave a lasting impact in the world. You do it for your kids, you do it for your offspring, so like your kids, your family. But again, at the end of the day, do whatever you can to support. And that's why, again, I love Sneaker Impact, and everything goes on in the community. Support one another, be there, stay positive.
Awesome. I love that inspirational message about kindness and about your legacy. Thank you again for joining us, Ray.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bryan. Appreciate you for having me.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.